I didn't teach the same subject, and I was like this young thing.
Yeah.
And she taught me stuff about how to teach and how to be here. So I had, when I started teaching, there were this was a group of women. Joe was one of them. They were like, this is how you are.
Yeah.
And so it was like, that's what it was. And so your mom, I mean, she was like this force of nature. Mm-hmm. I loved her. I feared her. One of the best compliments she ever gave me was, that's the outfit I want to see you in. Like, it was, yeah. You know what I mean? And she was this woman that had this style and she demanded this presence and demanded respect. Honestly, I'm strong because of her.
Hi, and welcome to I Swear on My Mother's Grave, a show about the loss of our complicated mothers, and not just in death. But really, it's a show about me and you. It's about the living, the one left, the one who is trying to move through her issues, her guilt, her shame, her sadness, her messy, complicated feelings. I'm on a journey to forgive my mom, but really to forgive myself and how I treated her during her lifetime, and especially towards the end of her life when she was really sick, mentally and physically. With this podcast, I have been on a journey to find more love for my mom, and what better place to find it than back in the high school classroom that she loved, ruled, and taught in for 20 years. My mom taught at Glenbard North High School in Carroll Stream, about 15 minutes from where I grew up. I went to a different school district in high school entirely, but I would visit her at this high school during my elementary and middle school days. I only usually went with her when I had a day off from my own school or a half day. And to be honest, the memories are foggy. But what's not foggy at all is the smell and the look of her hallway and her classrooms. The color of the tiled walls, the wooden cement brass lab tables and countertops, the skeletons on the walls and displays of beakers, and the yellow eye washing station right up front. The little desks, just barely big enough for high school bodies, let alone adult bodies to sit in. The charts of human organs and test tubes high up on shelves. I am not lying to you when I say that I can remember the smell and the look of her classroom like it was yesterday. And so that's what I saw, again, when I walked into her former biology classroom this summer. My mom stopped teaching at the school in 1996. And this room looked almost identical. It was like walking onto a movie set of her life. It was intense. I'd been warned by the director of operations there, Eric, about how the room might feel like a time warp, but oh my goodness, he was not wrong. When I asked Eric if I could do an interview inside my mom's old classroom, he said, sure, yeah, let me ask the district. And then he said, sure. So I talked with one of our other assistant principals, Deb Cartwright, and asked her if she knew your mom, since she's been here longer than me. And Deb said that she knew your mom quite well, and that there were a few people that took her under her wing when she started, and your mom was one of them. Deb said that she'd be happy to talk with you as well if it worked out. And well, it worked out. And Deb joined me on a Saturday morning to sit among the classroom desks and chat about my mom, Jo Black. Deb is the voice you heard at the top of this episode. I also brought along my friend Mandy Walsh from Chicago, who was a student of my mom's back in the day, and who also lost her mom. In this episode, you will hear us seeing my mom's classroom again for the first time in over 30 years, and then sitting down next to the eye washing station and the wooden lab tables to talk about my mom's prowess and fashion sense. We're going to talk about burnout and identity in your career as a mother and a woman, whether or not my mom drank her own urine, cancer scares, biology, and how my mom made science sexy. This is Mandy Walsh, Deb Cartwright, and I inside Glenbard North High School. Whoa. Okay, deep breaths. This looks the same. Oh my God. Oh, this is amazing. My God. It's
It's like a time capsule of a room.
Literally feels like I'm in a museum.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Look at this.
I mean,
The wood.
the wood.
So old. Oh my
The
God.
pegboard.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I might cry. I might cry. Look at this. Look at these. Like the benches are the same, the stools are the same. What is coming up for you sitting in your classroom? And tell us the years you went here.
So I was a freshman here at Glenbard in the fall of '89, honors biology, freshman year. It was my first honors class, and I do remember that morning walking up to this classroom petrified. I mean, I was a petrified little freshman anyway, because, you know, you hear rumors of like, they're going to throw pennies at you, they're going to bully you. And I was like, oh God. And walking up to this classroom, and yeah, it was like my first honors class of the day, and seeing your mom and just like the fashion goddess that she was, with the amazing hair with the wings and like awesome makeup and like super cool outfit and accessories. And I was like, oh, she's making science sexy. But I was a little...
Flies never looked so hot. Right. Yeah, like chromosomes. You're like, ooh, what's going on here? Yeah.
But I was also a little intimidated by her because, I mean, she had this presence about her. But then she started teaching. I was like, this is awesome. She's so cool. I had an interest in biology anyway, and she just kind of solidified that. And I thought every science class was going to be as cool as her science class. And then sophomore year, I was like horribly disappointed. I got to chemistry and I'm like, so where's the awesomeness that Mrs. Black had? Not here.
You only had her for 1 year.
Yeah, freshman year. And it was cool. I mean, we dissected everything, like earthworms, starfish, frogs. We didn't do the fetal pig. Her other section did that. But then we did the fruit fly experiment for genetics, which was amazing. But she made me want to be a better student, for sure. You wanted to impress her.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I hope she likes me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tell everybody who you are.
So I'm Deb Cartwright. I'm an assistant principal at Glenbard North here. And I've basically spent most of my career here. I started here in '91. I taught before that, and this is my last year. But when I started, I was this young thing, and Joe Black was my mentor and my person that just took me under her wing. And there was this group of ladies, and they really didn't hang out or know each other, but they were these strong women that taught me how to be. And I didn't know that I needed those lessons, but she's why, like, I'm a little badass. I'm not going to lie, but she's the reason that I'm not scared to have conversations with people.
Is that what you mean by badass? What do you mean by that? That you can talk to anybody, students, professors?
Anybody about anything, and you can do it in a way that you don't have to be confrontational or mean or anything. You're just having a mature, professional conversation. Jo taught me that. She taught me about relationships, that we have to support each other. We're not there to like gripe at each other. We're supposed to be there for each other, helping the kids, because that's our focus and our goal. Those are the things she taught me. It wasn't about being a teacher. Like, I knew that. I had that down. I was really good at it. But she just taught me how to exist here in this learning community. And that was hugely important. And she was. There was a part of her that was a little bit frightening. I also knew that I could ask her any question, and she wouldn't make me feel bad about it. She wouldn't make me feel embarrassed. Like, I could ask her a question.
I talk about that a lot on the show. Like, when I was a kid, I've never felt nervous to say, I'm having sex. I had an abortion when I was really young, and I've talked about that on the show, that I went right to my mom. Yeah. To say, I'm pregnant, I'm scared. And she's like, here's what we're going to do. Here's the deal. Here are the facts. Here's how you're going to feel. And you'll be back at work in 2 days. As my dad is freaking out. And my mom was so literal and just like calm. And I didn't feel any shame ever going to her with anything. Yeah. Mainly because of biology.
Yeah. I don't know that I learned that directly from Jo, but I'm that kind of person as well with my kids. And yeah,
you raise your kids to say, come to me for anything.
There's nothing that you can tell me Like I would say to my kids, there's nothing that you can tell me, and I still say this, that will surprise, shock, anything with me. I'm not going to love you less because of it. My job is to come up along beside you and support you. And yes, am I really good at like fixing things? Absolutely. No, your mom, she was terrific. I remember the fashion like you were talking about.
Right.
Right. Because I was a young, poor teacher, I could never touch or even get close to the lines that she wore. I knew what they were.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even touch that. And
The Donna Karens, who knows, her Anne. She had Donna Karen, DKNY. Yeah.
she had it all.
DKNY is Donna Karen.
Yeah,
St. John
and
Knits
St. John. Oh, I remember the St. John knits. I remember, and I would look at him like, that's St. John, and she'd look at me and just go, yes, yes, it is. And I just. Oh, and she would say, you would look great in something like this. And I'm like, I can't afford this, Joe. I cannot afford this. And she'd look at me and say, you can. But I still never owned one. Yeah, she was awesome. She was just this awesome human being.
I
Yeah.
was going through some old papers and I found a lot of stuff, like my mom's her own stages of mitosis. These are like, what do you call these? Transparencies you put up for notes. Yeah, the overhead projector. So all the stuff about cells and mitosis and her drawings of fruit flies and
it's all still true.
yeah, this is all, this
It's all
doesn't
still
change.
true.
And then some of the papers she's graded and some of her carbohydrates, like materials and chemistry materials. And then I found a lot of letters of like recommendation from other high schools before she got here or from the district saying you should hire her because she was coming from Milwaukee. She'd also taught in Chicago Heights. And there was this one from Des Moines that she taught in, I think, college in 71. And this evaluation says that she's incredible with enthusiasm, her sense of humor, her punctuality, her personal appearance, her planning, her ability to overcome unexpected adversity, ability to relate to high school people, her firm, fair, and friendly approach as a teacher. And the only two suggestions it said suggestions, not criticism for my mom, said voice. There are times when one can gain more attention by speaking softly as opposed to trying to carry the entire room and losing inflection, which is like, maybe she was too loud. Okay. And then the second was teaching is not telling. Teaching is selling. Biology is absolutely exciting. It's not a matter-of-fact course or presentation. This material is so exciting and important that you should convey the impression that you hurried to school and missed breakfast just so you could explain, which is interesting because I missed breakfast today to get here.
Yeah.
Okay, that gives me creeps. I have chills. So you could explain this specific information to these students. You're so excited to get there. So those were the two things that they said, even though the whole letter is, you're incredible. But think of this.
Yeah.
Deb, what do you take from that? What does that make you think of my mom?
Yes, Joe Black was loud. She was loud. And I say that again, not as a criticism, because I am loud.
Yeah.
So
You have a strong voice.
strong voice, and just and yes, there are probably times where if you like, and I will say that, and this was probably true of Joe too. When you talk quieter, it almost makes people kind of
You lean in.
you lean in, and people get a little. When I start to get quiet, people are almost afraid.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and they're like, "Ooh, is everything okay? Is everything?" I think being loud, and I can understand this, it's enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. So Joe was enthusiastic about what she was teaching. Joe had a passion. She had a passion for teaching. She had a passion for you because she would tell me stories about you. She was passionate. And if that's the only criticism, that's like a criticism of being too passionate, too caring about something where.
Or in 71, she was told this. And then by the time you met her and by the time her journey went, she was so enthusiastic that maybe she read this because she was such a planner and was so organized. She thought, I'm going to take this, I'm going to apply it. I'm going to be, once I get into the classroom in 75, 76, 78, 70, I will be so excited to be there. Maybe she was more formal at the top. And that now she created these games. You know, she did these Jungle Jeopardy board games and trivia, and she was really excited to teach.
Well, and that is, and I would say this, I taught for 16 years before becoming an administrator, which is different.
Yeah.
People don't usually do that. And I still love teaching. And one of the things that I apply, and this is true, is that, yes, teaching is not telling. So if you're just sitting and getting, you're not learning. I always tell people, the person that's doing the talking is doing the learning. So when you can get students also excited about what they're doing, right? And your mom had a lot of ways of doing that because they were, when you were a student, you were doing the biology. That's when you're truly learning.
Let's talk about urine.
Yeah.
There's a folklore that my mom drank her own urine. This is the transition. Are we ready for it?
I'm ready for the urine. Yeah.
I saw it. I remember that day. And I feel like it kind of rippled through the school. Yeah. It was like, this is the day that Mrs. Black drank her urine. Because I think she did it for every section of her class. But I feel like, because I had her, I think it was third period. So it was like earlier in the day. But yeah, she was just like, if you need to survive, you can drink your own urine. And she had, and it was a clear plastic, so it was clearly yellow in color, and she just downed it. And nobody knew what to make of it in the classroom because it was like, is that real? Did she just really?
Or was it apple juice?
Yeah. Right. And everybody respected her because she didn't do it like week 1, week 2. This was like further into the semester.
She has to gain your trust before she drinks her own urine.
Imagine if that was week 1.
Yeah. Day one?
Day one.
Like you're a freshman.
Yeah, you're a freshman.
It was this woman telling me I can drink my own urine, and she just did it. And then I feel like we just moved on in the class, or maybe we talked about like the kidneys, maybe, and like the filtration of the body. But yeah, it was like we all loved her, we all adored her at that point, but she did this thing that was like, I don't know what to make of that.
Because you don't want to think it's disgusting.
No.
Because it's Joe Black.
Yeah.
So it's not disgusting.
She's in a blazer while she's doing it, and earrings on.
I never saw it, but I can't remember. And as I was driving here today, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Joe Black drank her urine. Or am I mixing? Or did I dream that? On the way here, I'm like, I'm pretty sure. And then you have these memories that you put together. And then I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it was Joe, but that doesn't seem like something Joe would do. But then I remember like her telling me like about, or maybe I came up to her and said, because you talk about the ripples through the school and going, Joe, did you drink your urine today? She's like, yeah, I do it every year. It was something like I do it every year. I'm like, why? Because I remember having a conversation with her about why would you do that? And she's like, well, if you need to survive.
So she's proving that point.
Yeah, and your kidneys are this great filtration system. Okay. So you explaining this, I'm telling you, she explained the same thing to me. And I will say, I have thought of that over the years. Not that I've been in a situation where I need to survive, but if I needed to survive, would I drink my urine?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's in there.
I'd absolutely do it.
Yeah. Well, and then like all of these survival shows came out, like Bear Grylls and Alone, and like you see people doing that, and I'd be sitting there with my husband and be like, yeah, my freshman biology teacher totally drank her own urine. Yeah. I knew that. And he's like, no. I'm like, yeah.
I wonder if she knows or realized the impact she had on people. Like the thing you remember from high school is that your biology teacher drank urine. And nobody was disgusted by that because of the kind of person she was.
I mean, we're not gonna take a turn yet, but I actually think she did know. I think some of the sadness of my mom's life is part of her is knowing that like she had this identity and she was loved by so many people. And there's letters letters right here on this desk from students that she kept. And she won the Illinois Math and Science Award at least 3 times. She was nominated. People sent letters to the principal here to say, like, we love Joe Black. So I think as my mom pulled away from teaching and then was just a CEO's wife and then dealt with some of her own pain and sadness, and her body started to deteriorate, which I also want to talk about in terms of biology and DNA. Like, my mom's body failed her, and she taught about the human body. And I thought we were gonna have fun. But we're gonna get there. But I think my mom did know. But it was hard for her. She talked about it a lot. She'd be like, I was so loved. I was so good at what I did. People still remember, kind of trying to buff up her own identity and reminding even me or my dad or her mom, like, I was legend in this classroom that we're sitting in. And I don't know. And so I'm chasing, like, I knew that she was great, but I didn't go through her papers. I don't sit here and go through all her, but I've had to sit with these and really remind myself, you were incredible. Yes, you were sick. Yes, you dealt with mental health and addiction, but you were unreal. Yeah. But I think losing this job she made the choice, which I also want to talk about when you get burnout as a teacher. She didn't want to be resentful of teaching.
Right.
But she also was scared, if I leave this, who am I?
And I think that is honestly something that is women, right? Yeah. Our identity is who we are and who we are to other people. Yeah. So important to us, right? So I think we're always walking through these thresholds in life, almost these identity thresholds. And as you go through this change or whatever in your life, you have different roles. The role that your mom had with you, the role that she had with her students, with her colleagues, like all of that stuff, it's then finding that when that changes. Now, who am I now?
And she probably thought when she was here, she wasn't being a good mom.
Yes.
Or I'm not with my daughter enough, so she quit to be with me my senior year of high school, even though my dad's like, I think she was too involved. She was trying to be with you so much because she was about to lose you for college, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, do you feel that burnout sometimes happen, or going, if I'm not really in the zone of being a principal, like if I'm wanting to be elsewhere, then I shouldn't keep this job?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I have 3 kids. I have a son that is 27, a daughter who's 25, and then another daughter who's 21.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was like, let's go.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, it was fun.
Do they go here?
No, they didn't. And when they were little, they wanted to. And then when they were in high school, and they went to Wheaton Warrenville South. Oh. Okay, right?
Where I went?
Yep. They went to Wheaton Warrenville South, and it was always, they were happy to go to Wheaton Warrenville South because then I was here as like the assistant principal. And they still complain that they would like there to be a little bit more mom and less assistant principal. Ooh. And now I'm actually...
They say that?
They've said that to me. Yeah, they've said that to me recently. And now at my age of 56, what I've said to my kids is, look, you grew up in this house. You know how I am. If you think I'm going to change the way I'm saying things and doing things, I'm very sorry. That's not going to happen for you. Or for me. I think we're all going to have to get by it. Know that I love you. Know that I care about you. Know that you're the most important thing. That's it. When I was here, and I actually took a few years off, I call them the breeding years, to have my kids, and like they were younger, like to be with them and do things. And I love them to death. There's nothing that I love more, but I couldn't wait.
Closer to the mic.
Yeah. So, I really love them. They're the most, but I couldn't wait to get back into teaching.
Really?
Yeah, because that was such a part of my identity. So I understand how that relates with your mom. That's so much of who you are, and it always has been. Because I was a teacher before I had them. Yep. I'm a teacher after I'm still here. And as I face retirement personally, I'm like wondering, ooh, now who am I? Yep. Because I'm also not their mom, because they're old. I'm not.
They're out of the house.
Mostly. One's not. But they're on their own out of the house, and they don't need me for as much. This place doesn't need me. Like, I can see where your mom, and what does that then do to how you perceive things and find yourself? So so I can understand that. That's a real realistic thing that's happening in my head right now. Whether it's teaching or anything, I think as females, we go through this where we're just walking through, okay, now this is different, and now this is different. And then it's finding who you are as you cross through that other threshold. And that's not easy. That is not done.
I don't have kids. Mandy doesn't have kids, but I'm still going through my own transition of what's my career, what's my life, where am I going to live? I'm moving away from Chicago. I just got married. So it's the same. And I know my mom, I know that she was trying to be a good mom by wanting to spend time with me. I don't know. Did your mom ever struggle with that stuff, with identity and quitting?
I don't think she was an administrative assistant, and I don't know if that was her passion. No, I know it wasn't her passion, but she grew up in Chicago. She went to Catholic school. She went to a vocational high school, which taught her to be basically a secretary. So like that wasn't her calling, but she did pride herself on her job a lot. She worked for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals for a while and retired with them, and she was very proud of her job there. I think heading into retirement was a little easier for her because it wasn't what got her up in the morning. You know, that job paid the bills. That was, what put food on the table and, me through school. And so it wasn't quite the same, but I will say my grandmother lived with us. She moved in with us when I was in like 6th grade until she died in her 90s. She lived with my mom, so my mom was her caretaker. And when my grandmother died, there was that kind of, now what? And unfortunately, my mom didn't really get a chance to figure that out because she was diagnosed with cancer, and then she died like within a year of my grandmother passing. So like, but I think that's, her thing was more like, I was out of the house. My grandmother was the thing that drove her, and then that was gone. So yeah, I mean, yes, but it wasn't a career thing as much.
Well, and it's both of you are sharing about it. My mom passed away a few years ago too, and not at a young age. She was 84 years old, right? But you guys had, it sounds like, good relationships with your mom. Mine was not great. Yeah.
Ours were tricky too.
Well, mine wasn't tricky. Mine was actually like
Not good.
I don't think we liked each other.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I went after that happened. I had to go to therapy. I'd never done that, and I realized that. And I think this is again a real important thing for women. You don't want to say, "Okay, I've got to be vulnerable," but I had to be vulnerable enough to allow someone to help me, and because I needed it, because I was like, "Okay, I can't hold this together." Like something is wrong. I'm always really great at holding things together. This is not working for me. And it was probably the best thing.
When did you realize that? What happened? Was there a moment that happened for you?
I was crying in the middle of my kitchen and I couldn't stop. You know what I mean? I was letting it out. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do my job. I can't do my mother thing. My daughter thing, I didn't like doing it. Now it's gone. And I was her caretaker too. I'm like, what sort of fresh hell is this? After, not.
Did you feel obligated to do it even though you didn't
She's
get along?
she's my mom.
I know, but just that phrase.
You still have to.
You don't,
right?
But a lot of people don't
I
believe
know.
that.
That's your mom.
Yeah.
That's your mom. So there was no way I was going to not do it. But there were boundaries that I was like, I can't. There's some things I cannot do that we're going to have to pay people to do. But I always arrange that. And there is something about your mom, moving on, that changes you as a woman. I don't know whether it's good or bad. Again, it's just one of those walking through that threshold of now I'm different, right?
Yeah. Did she change in those last moments, like months together?
No.
It feels cheesy to say, like, you guys must have had a moving experience where you got closer together in those last months, but we know that doesn't always happen.
No, it was not like I always in my life with her, I felt like the reason she had me was to do things for her. That's what I always thought that was my role, is I'm the one that does these things for always. And it wasn't as far as taking care of her, I thought I was taking care of her from the time I was 13. Like that wasn't anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is. We did not have a moment where there was like this sudden tenderness or anything like that. It was just like, okay, unfortunately, she had a stroke. It was not something she was going to really come back from. I knew the life that she wanted. I'm like, okay, I got to respect that. And she had a living will, and I'm like, we're going to do end of life. And that was hard. I still think about that. I'll have some feelings that go around that as well, where I'm like, did I do the right thing? But I did. And I don't know. And
Can't go back and change.
I can't go back.
did what you
It
did.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. And should I go live with my mom and give up my whole life and be her care? No. And I don't regret it. But you go, other people would have said, well, that's my mom. That's my mom. And I got to go live in her house and give up everything and care for her or bring her into my home. And I just knew, we've talked about this, Mandy and I have. And is that really what I wanted to do? No, I'll find you someone. And you'll love her.
Yeah.
And she did. She doesn't want me in there all the time. She wants a person she doesn't know.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Give me the mic.
How dare you? Do you have siblings?
Yes.
Okay.
So 2 older siblings, 2 boys. Did they do anything? No. And I will say that in the microphone.
They did not help out.
No. I mean, grant they lived out of state, but at the same time, both retired. Okay. Could have done more. When I would say, hey, this is what I need help with, they would say, well, you know what you should do. And I'd be like, okay.
I don't tell me what to do. I asked you for help with the thing I'm doing.
And here's the thing. Guess what? Shut up. So, it's just not going to work. Yeah. But, and then at some point there's this, no, I get it. Like, this is where I am. And there's this acceptance. Do I look back? Could I have been kinder? Could I have been nicer in certain things? Yes, but again, that's not the relationship that we had. And then I would think, I always knew at some point she's not going to be around forever. What will I feel like when she's gone? And so I think about that, and then I was surprised at the feelings that I had. And one of the things that my therapist even said was, sometimes it's hard, like when you have a strained relationship with someone, losing them is harder than if you had this warm and fuzzy accepting relationship. And I was like, yeah. And then I think about that. There's parts of me with my kids where they like me and they do want to be around me. They seek me out, which I'm very thankful for.
And you don't just make them do things for you.
No.
So that line of trauma is not.
No, that's not. I would never do that. I would never do that. But I do expect them to listen to me. I'm just going to say that.
How dare you? Yeah.
I know. I'm like, and now it's kind of like, I know some things. If you like my advice and you want to ask for it, that's great. It's not going to come, sweetly to you, but this is how it's going to come. And so that didn't keep going. So I do have good relationships with my kids. At the same time, there's that healthy respect. Mm-hmm. They know that I'm the mom, and we're probably not. We're not going to be friends. Do we enjoy being around each other? Yes. So like that, I feel is like this hurdle.
Yes.
That I was able to accomplish after having the relationship I did with my mom, where it was this hurdle that I could get through with my kids. And I have to run. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Any last thoughts on Joe before you go?
Oh, just
so what? Well, let's just say when you walked in here,
Shirley Joe,
you said I had my back to you. I had my back to you, and I turned, and you said, "Oh my God,
yeah, you look like your mom.
You look like your mom.
You're your mom."
I mean, this is fake. This yellow. This hair.
Okay.
This hair is fake. But
so is mine.
So I do look like I'm more now.
You look like you are your mom. Yeah, you are your mom, and I think that's a huge.
It is.
She was so dear to me, and so a lot of things, and so just
good to know.
Yeah, take that. That's a.
It said in here, said there was a note that said your mom is like a true friend to everyone. And it's not a humble brag. It's a full brag. I get a lot of people who tell me you make me feel like you're my friend quickly. Like you respect me, you listen to me, you hear me. And I was like, I get that from my mom. And anyway, just finding that again was like, oh, I guess that's kind of like something she did,
That's the truth.
Yeah.
I think she made people feel valuable. And that's, like truly valuable. And that's amazing to have that. Letting people know that they matter. Yeah. That's what I remember about her. And that she just, again, she was smart and pretty and stylish and, she was, yeah.
You're the best. Thanks for being here.
It was so great to meet everybody. But really, awesome. And love Panthers.
Yeah, right?
Go Panthers.
Yeah, Deb had to go about 30 minutes into our conversation, but I was so grateful for the time that she could give us on an early Saturday morning. We hugged and said goodbye, and then Mandy and I sat back down in our little classroom seats and kept talking. I asked Mandy about her cancer scare and recovery from ovarian cancer, and a full hysterectomy that she had during a global pandemic, all without her mom by her side. I realized that after I listened back to this conversation, I never mentioned in the room the fact that my mom also had a full hysterectomy. My mom never really told me why, but I always assumed it was because she wasn't having any more kids and she just wanted it gone. But I don't know the real answer. The irony was not lost on me that we were sitting in a biology classroom, Mandy's high school classroom, talking about cancer, our bodies changing, our dead moms, and overcoming the fear that comes along with all of it, and living to tell the tale. So, friend, now that you're sitting here with just me, we talked about how you feel being in the room after many years, but I don't know how you're feeling after you've gotten over cancer during a global pandemic. You're feeling better, you're healthier, but you did all of that without your mom. And I want to talk to you about that on the mic in this classroom.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I am feeling good. In April of 2021, I had a total hysterectomy. It was a radical hysterectomy. It was not laparoscopic. I have like a 12-inch scar on my abdomen. I had stage 1 ovarian cancer, and even that is weird to say because I'm extraordinarily lucky and that I didn't have to have any treatment afterwards. It is astounding that I didn't have to have treatment because I have pictures somewhere on my phone that my surgeon sent of me on the table. You don't see my face, but you see my uterus and an ovary, which are the size of basketballs. They were enormous.
Both, yes.
Yeah, they're huge. I mean, they're just 2 lumps. And everybody's like, well, what's that and what's that? I'm like, I don't know which one's which. The human body is nightmarishly elastic, to quote, I think it was Patton Oswalt who said that. Yeah.
And right now, Joe Black would want to see those photos, would want to talk about, you know what I mean? Like my mom would always be like, let's talk about the ovaries, let's talk about she would look at plants, remember? And she'd say, this is the biology of the plants. Yeah, she would want to see all of that and be really interested and respectful, but would want to talk about it.
100%. Yeah, I think she and my surgeon would get along really well. Dr. Stephanie Munns, shout out to her. She's amazing. She's like, you're going to want these photos. I'm texting them to you right now. And this was like the day after my surgery where I'm like, no. But and it was like the pandemic hit and everybody ate. So I put on some weight and I'm in my mid to late 40s, so things are changing. And so any differences in my period was like, well, I'm 46. Like, it's fine. And then I started to get uncomfortable and I was like, maybe it's my gallbladder. And I went to my primary care physician and she was like, I'm going to get you a CT scan. And like 2 weeks later, I was having the surgery. It was that fast. And because they were so big, I really thought I need to start giving my stuff away. I really did. I thought this was it. I remember going for a follow-up appointment and sitting in the room. And I hear my surgeon, she's on the phone with somebody. She's clearly talking about a patient. And she comes in, she's like, did you hear that? I'm like, well, yeah, but I didn't listen because I'm not an asshole. I'm not going to eavesdrop on your phone call. She's like, that was a Cleveland clinic. We got your stuff back. It was stage 1. You're fine. We don't have to do chemo. We don't have to do radiation. And I just burst into tears in the room. And it was really, the next several weeks my recovery was really hard. Like I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was really uncomfortable. And it was really emotional. And of course, part of that is because, my hormones were super jacked. And I'm on a hormone patch now that, tempers a lot of that. But like just bursting into tears of just, I can't believe how lucky I am. I can't believe this bullet that I dodged.
Gratitude can be so emotional, just like sorrow, right?
Yeah. And Corey Pasco put together a GoFundMe so I didn't have to worry about bills and food train, which you were amazing and brought stuff, and just the outreach of people and finding out how much people care super overwhelming and beautiful. And I was like, I got to pay this forward. I don't know how to pay it forward, but I'm going to figure it out. But I remember being in the hospital, and that was weird. It was before Delta really hit. So I was lucky in that Chris, my husband, was able to come and sit with me for like 6 hours, which is not enough. I don't know if you've ever been in a hospital, but it's better than none. Yeah. Like, I couldn't get out of there fast enough, but I was just like, I kept thinking about my mom and like how she would have handled all of this. And I don't think she would have handled it well, Dana.
No. What do you mean?
I think she would have freaked out.
The COVID stuff or the diagnosis? I mean, she had her own diagnosis that went really fast. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But
I think all of it. All of it. I don't think she would have handled COVID well. It's so funny because I wanted to ask Deb, and I've asked this to you too, like now that my mom is gone, I've been able to more objectively look at my relationship with her and really be able to see it for what it was, all of her strengths, but all of her weaknesses as well. And like, my mom wasn't really, she was not shy about making it known when I hadn't seen her in a while. So I cannot imagine that COVID would have gone well.
yes, the guilt. Mm-hmm. And even Deb saying how amazing my mom was, but also scary. My mom could be really nasty. She could spin. And again, some of that is from addiction later. But like, sure, she was firm and funny and all those. But you're like, but she could also cut and then make me feel, why would I want to come visit you if you're always so angry when I'm not here? And then when I show up, this guilt of not visiting you enough, right? Or just so I agree. Like, we've talked about this a little, but objectively being able to say, but she was awesome and awesome and awesome over here. Because I don't think putting anybody on a pedestal is doing anybody a favor. So she was a real human being with like all these flaws. And yeah, being able to see your mom as that is important.
Yeah. COVID wouldn't have handled it well. Me being in the hospital.
She would have wanted to go out. You mean she'd be like, I'm going to the store. I'm getting on an airplane and in the early days?
I think she
Or what do you mean?
No, I think she would have been okay because, I mean, before she had the lung cancer diagnosis, she had pulmonary fibrosis. So she struggled, like she was immunocompromised. So she got that. But I think in terms of me being able to visit, that would have been like nightmare.
She would not have respected that those boundaries.
Like, I don't care. Be like, I care because if I get you sick,
You're going to die.
you're going to die. So there was that. But I think me being in the hospital with surgery and all that, I think she just would have been a mess. I don't think she would have handled it particularly well. And I know that would have come from a place of love, but I don't know if my mom was extremely strong until she wasn't. Like she could hold a lot, but when she broke, she would break pretty hard. And I think this would have been difficult for her. So in a way, I was grateful that she didn't have to go through that.
Did you like talk to her when you were in the hospital? Did you like pray or ask her for her healing power, trying to get spiritual with your mom?
No, I didn't. I will say what I did have was her sister, my aunt, came to visit. Yeah. And I think in a way that was a good substitute. I hate saying substitute because that sounds like, I don't know, it sounds shitty. But, like it was like a surrogate mom thing. So she really stepped up and kind of filled that role. It's funny when you talk about the spiritual part of it. I was at Resurrection Hospital, Catholic hospital, but the chapel was closed to people. So on the TV, there was a station of just a camera in the chapel with a live feed of the chapel so you could pray. It was really creepy. It was really bizarre. It was super bizarre.
On the way here, we drove by your elementary school that was a Catholic school on the way here. Yeah.
St. Isidore.
Yeah. And your mom was raised Catholic, but you weren't.
Yeah, I was raised Catholic, but I would say I'm a recovering Catholic more than anything at this point.
Yeah. What was your mom like when you were in high school? Do you remember her as a parent in these days when you were in this classroom?
She was working at Pfizer at this point. She'd recently switched jobs and started at Pfizer, so she was really into that. She was a lot of fun when I was in high school. I feel like my senior year was the year that we kind of butted heads a lot. Yeah, I think there was that, like, you're going to be leaving soon.
Yeah.
But I remember we had a lot of fun, like, freshman, sophomore year. Like, I had friends, but I still had my mom. My mom very much, looking back now with that objective lens, realized, like, she really wanted a friend more than a daughter. That was cool for a while, but I think, in high school, you then want to make your own friends and people your own age. So
she didn't have boundaries? Is that what you mean?
I think so. I mean, there were some things there are things that I wish she hadn't said to me. Like my relationship with my dad is extraordinarily strained. He's not a good dad. Yeah. But I remember when they were getting a divorce, she would just say things about my dad, and like, it was like, maybe I shouldn't have known that, even though I'm not close with him. I don't know how much more she might have contributed to that relationship being strained, because she was kind of jealous. She was a jealous person. It feels weird to say that about your own mother, but like, this is horrible. But when she passed, we were pulling photos for her memorial, and I was going through photos of my wedding day and seeing, like, we had people come over to her house to get the makeup done, and we had food and all the things, and looking at those candid photos of, like, me interacting with my future mother-in-law or bridesmaids, and my mom off to the side just kind of looking slightly pissed that the attention was somewhere else. I was like, and I realized I think I had a little of that in me for a long time, but I've gotten therapy and worked past that. So, yeah, I think she wanted me all to herself a lot of the time. Yeah.
It's just you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
As we know.
Yeah. Because we talked about how, like, in so many ways, your mom was a superhero to so many people. And you think your mom is a superhero and that they're not a human being who's complex. And so,
When she died, I had all these random people reach out to me like, I loved your mom. She was an amazing teacher. I saw the obituary. I nominated her for this, Illinois Math and Science Award. All these people reaching out, and I'm like, she is amazing. And so thank you for reminding me, and thank you for loving my mom. But if they knew that I didn't call her back sometimes or was mean to her, they'd probably be like, how could you? She was so incredible. And you're like, but you knew her as a teacher. You didn't know her as my mom. So it is tricky. But then I feel guilty. Like, was I the bad one? Am I the one that didn't work hard enough? And it spirals. But what else is coming up for you? Being here, walking through the auditorium, you did theater, you did the sound design, you did tech. Just didn't know if any memories with your mom being here, sitting in the seats.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I feel like my life at school was so separate from my life at home with her. I mean, she came to see the plays that I was in and worked on and stuff.
Did you say I wish you were on the stage instead of behind?
No, because I mean, she was fully supportive when I was on stage versus off stage. But my senior year, we did Noises Off here, and which I wasn't in. I was bummed about that. But I did makeup, and we had to turn the set around. It was this whole thing. But she was always like, I love Noises Off so much. I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't in that one.
Right, that's the one she liked.
What was that I was in, Mother?
You're like, come on.
Right, come on. I mean, I'm glad that she appreciated theater for, the greater sense of theater.
She saw you in things in Chicago as you went on to do your career.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things since she's passed that I'm like, I wish she had been around for that.
Yeah, my mom couldn't see me in shows since like 2008 on because she couldn't really walk or, she couldn't come into the city. So she didn't see a lot of my last work, the last 10 years.
Did she ask about it a lot, though?
Yeah, she kept all the programs. Yeah, I would give her a program. And when she died, I found all the programs and notes and like reviews that she had pulled from the internet or papers. They were all in like a drawer. Not every show I did, but she kept, yeah. So again, that's when I go, I'm a horrible person. My mom kept these beautiful things of me. And here I am trying to talk trash about her on a podcast. No, she's a full woman. And I'm trying to come to terms with how I treated her, right? As you know, my show's about me, really. It's about my journey. It's not even about her. It's not even about her. But like, yeah, she was supportive, but she couldn't fully support me in everything I did. Yeah. And your mom tried too. Yeah. It's like, she tried.
Yeah.
She tried. Did she like Chris? I was going to ask you this.
She did like Chris. It's funny because I'm an only child. So like, I think Chris became the son. Yeah. She never had. Yeah. And like, we'd both be in the same show and she'd be like, oh, Chris was so great. And be like, again, mother. You remember me off to the side?
I remember my wedding recently. My grandma was at the wedding on the nursing home and my grandma kept talking about how great Jonathan looked. I was like, I was like, can I get a little...
something?
Yeah, no, she just loved Jonathan's suit. And I was like, I was in a dress. Yeah. But I guess on my mom's wedding, my grandma said to my mom, this is true. Everybody kept saying I looked like the bride because my grandma looked so beautiful. So that's a whole thing to unpack about my grandma telling my mom, I looked incredible. They thought I was the bride. A lot of people thought I was getting married. And I said to my grandma, you told that to my mom? She's like, yeah, I told it to her later. I was like, you didn't say it on her wedding day, I hope. She was like, no. She knew I looked beautiful. It's a very competitive relationship. Anyway, I was like, ooh.
I actually, like, talking about your mom and, like, her relationship with her body and all those things. Like, there's one thing that, like, another memory I have of her in this room. It was towards the end of class. And I don't know why we were working with stethoscopes. But she put hers in, and the rubber tip for the ear it had fallen off and she didn't know, and she put it in, and I think she ruptured her eardrum. Your mom, I know that that's incredibly painful. She was like, ow, that hurts. Okay, well, I'm going to go to urgent care.
Yep.
She was like just super calm about it, and I just find it like, so I know your mom's tolerance and like understanding of the body was like high.
So when it got really bad, it got really bad. So it was like she could handle a lot or could ignore a lot until she couldn't, right? Yeah. It was like, whew, you've got crippling pain all over your body. Yeah, that's sad. Yeah. But she could handle a lot. She used to like break her leg or like she would want to like walk herself to the hospital once. And then during a surgery, she was only under like twilight. So she asked to watch the procedure. On her knee, wow. Like, of course she did. She's a freak.
Yeah, but that's cool.
That's cool. She's cool, but yeah, she had a high. That's really true. It's interesting to think too, if we dissect what Deb said. Like Deb talked about her beauty like 6 times sitting here, which is also part of my mom's trauma. Like staying beautiful, staying healthy, staying thin, and then when she couldn't stay the way she wanted to look and how sick she got. It's just like it's interesting because that's how that's beautiful. That's how she remembers her, but that's also a point of contention for my mom.
Right.
But even though I'm sure if my mom was here, she'd be like, that's right. Say it louder.
Right.
But that's part of her, I think, her comparativeness, the comparative.
I think my mom went through this similar thing. And in fact, like I pulled some photos and I purposely pulled photos.
Show me.
Oh yeah, have to get up. I pulled a lot of photos of when she was younger because that's the way she would want to be remembered, because like...
Right, she doesn't... Right.
She was on so much prednisone for fibrosis that she put on a lot of weight. She had thyroid issues, so when she was treated for that, her eyeballs swelled. Like Barbara Bush had the same issue. So, yeah, there's that vanity thing. And, even after I had the surgery and I lost so much weight, like I looked skeletal and awful. This is her bowl. I told you she bowled a lot, so I brought some of. Yeah, right.
This is her bowling. It's a championship. What is this? What does this stand for?
Women's something bowling. I don't know.
Bowling champions. It's her mom with 2 bowling balls. Now, they're on a place on a table in front of her, but they are placed where the boobies would go.
Right.
And then there's 2 hats, cowboy hats, sort of like on either side.
I don't know where that one was.
1989. I thought I'd end our little conversation asking me to tell me your mom's name, as we do, and how you're feeling about her right now, today, in this moment, sitting in your old biology classroom.
My mom's name was Priscilla Harbit. Her maiden name was Filipowski. Sitting here, I miss her today. And I'm feeling a little more, like I said, there's that objective lens now that she's not here to look at our relationship. But I feel a little more at peace with her. And I know she did the best that she could with what she had.
And this is a poem that was written to my mom called Mrs. Joe Black, 6/7. So I don't know if that was a classroom or a class number, but it was Mrs. Joe Black, 6/7, and a cat named Boo. And it's from the late 70s, I think 78. And it was written by Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, who was a student of my mom's. So I will read it because my mom has clearly kept this. I think she wants me to sell this on eBay. I'm not sure. But it's Mrs. Joe Black, 6/7, and a cat named Boo. A lady who sat behind a lab table, who will often be referred to in this fable, managed a strange troop, a particular group. They met in an autumn day, the lady instructing her ways to many confused and helpless teens. They hit it right off, knowledge they sought, in that wonder of room 215. Through fruit flies and shattered test tubes, through Benedicts and agar cubes, through digestion, we all had a gas. Through genetics, a few of us passed. With an alien from space, a sock of tall stature, they studied the human race with that lady of mere Mrs. Joe Black. A guy named Louie, a girl who knew Kung Fu-y, some girls who went moo, and then there was Lane, Phil, Pam, Fred, Ed, Lynn, Noel, Himmy, Tracy, Lori, and Billy too. It's been neat. It's been fun. We'll never be beat. 6/7 is number 1. Love, the author, Billy. And my mom wrote in pencil to the left of his signature, Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins. And she circled Billy Corgan in pencil. And then a bunch of the students signed the piece of paper. She wrote the Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins later. But clearly she kept this, and then she must have gone back in when he became famous and then wrote that, which is crazy.
6/7 is.
Tell me.
It's period 6/7 because they overlapped in a weird way. So he was 6/7. Yeah.
This is incredible. Thanks, Billy. Thanks, Joe Black. Do you want to walk? Talk?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's every high school or school, but in this particular high school, they don't use textbooks anymore. Everything's online. And I get it. But I'm like, oh my gosh, how old am I? That felt so shocking to me, but it's true. So as we were walking around the room, we were looking at the beakers and looking at the drawers and opening doors and just reveling in how the room felt identical to how it felt in the 90s. And we came upon a section of books, which again felt like a relic. Books, textbooks. And we started picking them up. And something crazy happened. Okay, they say there's no kids use books anymore, right? Because everything's on their laptops. But look are these? Who uses these then? These are like anatomy books, of the frog. So maybe they just use these in the classroom. But this is okay. These are the old ones because my mom. Yeah, I remember these. So these are some of the old books because my mom kept her biology books. Yeah.
Maybe that was
this
the one.
edition.
Maybe.
Biology.
Well, it says black on the side.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My mom wrote on everything and she even wrote, oh my God. I don't know if sorry, I'm having a moment. Because my mom, I didn't bring it today, but you remember how I kept her staple from the classroom? Like her stapler had her name on it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Holy shit. This is probably her writing. Oh my God. Because I was like, that looks like her book.
Oh, wow. I'm paging through this, and I'm like, yeah, I remember this book.
Humans, deer, science terms,
Look at how big the print is.
kingdom, Monera. My mom really did write her name on everything. Staplers, pictures, plates, carving knives, even a rake on the handle. I found it in her garage after she died. It was written in black Sharpie on the handle, her last name, Black. Don't steal her rake, people. I remember telling someone this and they said, oh yeah, it's because she's a teacher. She wrote her name on things. That makes sense. So you know who to return it to. Once a teacher, always a teacher. When I was a young kid, she used to let me grade her students' papers with an answer key. I would use a red pen and sit at the dining room table and grade quizzes on fruit flies and chromosomes. I even got to put star and smiley sticker faces on the quizzes that got A- and above. As a kid, I also used to play pretend classroom, like most kids might. I would make a mock classroom of teddy bears and dolls and imaginary people in my room, and I would hand out paper and quizzes to them and grade them. And we even went on field trips to collect leaves and branches outside. Remember, I was an only child. I never really wanted to be a real teacher, but I always thought somewhere in the back of my mind, would I be good at this? Could I be a teacher like my mom? Chromosomes are a thread-like structure of nucleic acids and protein found in the nucleus of most living cells, carrying genetic information in the form of genes. My mom taught for over 20 years, and when she decided to retire or leave Glenbard North, it was a huge deal. Like, she didn't want to do it. And she said she did it because she didn't want to become a jaded teacher. But I think she really left because she wanted to spend more time with me before I left for college. I knew that she was about to lose a huge part of her identity and her purpose, and I was about to have a mom who was real focused on me. Maybe too focused on me. And I'm sure I didn't appreciate it at the time that she was around and helping me and doing things for me and being great, because I was too busy living my senior year life and focused on college, leaving her and my dad many states away in New York. So this episode is not about what comes next for my mom or for me, because that journey gets a lot harder and it's not filled with as many shiny stickers. But my mom was always a teacher. Whether she retired or not, she was always a thinker, a lover of young kids, curious. I might not have become a teacher myself yet, but she did inspire so many other students to follow in her path. Like the teacher inside that classroom at Glenbard North today. His name is Joe Larson, and he was a former student of my mom's. Yes, his name is Joe, and my mom's name was Joe. Yeah, you heard that right. So Joe and I never got to meet up as the school year was starting up again, and a formal interview just wasn't possible. But he wrote to me and said, Dana, I can tell you that your mom, Mrs. Black, was one of the best teachers I ever had in school, and she inspired me to be a science teacher. She was tough and demanding, and I never wanted to let her down. She made our honors biology class memorable and fun to walk into each day. She made us laugh all the time and not take ourselves too seriously. She was the reason education and being a science teacher was something I wanted to pursue. Thanks to your mom. So I have had to record this quote a few times this morning because I just couldn't seem to get through it without crying. I'm not totally sure why. I think it's because someone who I don't know is telling me how amazing my mom was, how she inspired him, how she changed the trajectory of his life. And I am still grappling with anger towards her. And maybe I'm jealous of this former student turned teacher for getting this pure part of my mom, this inspiring and awesome part of my mom. He got the classroom teacher. I got the mom and some of her genetics, which I'm proud of. I also inherited a lot of those fabulous Donna Karan outfits. The beakers. Yeah.
She drank urine out of one of these beakers. That's what it was. One of these. She drank. That's what it was.
That was what it was.
Quick thanks to Glenbard North High School, Eric Johansson, Deb Cartwright, Joe Larson, Mandy Walsh, and Jessie D. Bartolomeo for her audio and tape support in the classroom. The second season of I Swear on My Mother's Grave podcast would never be possible without our editor, Amanda Roscoe-Mayo, our music composer, Adam Ollendorf, our graphic designer and illustrator, Meredith Montgomery, and our copywriter, Rachel Claff. Thanks as well to Tony Howell and Austin Heller for all their work on the website, and to Heather Bodie for her emotional, spiritual, social, and physical, for all the help. Thank you. And to all of you, thank you for listening, subscribing, reaching out, and just being a part of this community. I'm so grateful you're here. And if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you can do so at our website, which is danablack.org. You can hear all about this incredible season and some upcoming live events we're curating just for you. I hope you'll come back. Come back. Don't leave me like my dead mom. You know what I mean? Come back.